Okay, so last time we finished our lecture at this particular point, the menus, how we can have these menus uh, in our application, where we can have some icons or maybe a drop down list where we can click on and it will perform certain actions. Last time we see that how we can implement these two methods within our Java code and we can get these menus on our application. So now let's start for today's lecture. The first thing is again a material design. These are the design principles which are provided by different organizations, but mainly because we are working with the Android, so we will focus on the Google material design. So materialdesign.io, I have already shown you some resources from there, like color resource, where you can select different resource select different colors and then find out the exact ID or the number which is matching that specific color that you can use in your project to give that specific visual component that specific color, maybe the text color or maybe the background color or whatever it is. Fine. So not only the color, it also has a lot of other components, visual components, GUI components which are available. It gives you a lot of design principles. How much, what you can say that if you want to make the 3D design, like elevation of your components, GUI components, how you are going to manage them. We don't want an, what you can say that, a visual effect which is not aesthetically or designed fully or properly designed. We don't want to do that kind of a mistake. So they also provide you a lot of designs. Okay, this is wrong thing to do. This is a good thing to do. This is a recommendation that how you should do these kind of animations or these kind of GUI components. And it also provide how you can work with the typography changing. Now, right now we are working on only one style of the fonts. How we can change the fonts. They are different typographies. They also give you some directions, the recommendations. In these circumstances, you need to use these kind of fonts. Under these conditions, use a different set of fonts and so on. So they also provide you the guidelines over there. They can also tell you the design, how you can design that specific component, whether it is a button, whether it is a text view, input field, or the image. So they provide you all those design principles. And if you want to learn more, then you can always go on this particular specific link and you can find the more informations. We also have, this particular material design components provide you a different type of components. We have a floating action button, a small rounded button where it can float on your screen, and then if you click on that, it will perform some specific action. And then definitely, if you want to get it perform something, you have to implement that click action inside your Java code. Okay. We also have the bottom application bar. Normally, by default, the application bar is on the top. But if you want to get it on the bottom, they also have a specific theme. Remember theme that we discussed when we're talking about the theme, the structure of your Android project? So we have a specific theme which we have applied on our visual components, the visual design of your application. So we have that particular bottom app bar. We also have the material buttons. They are a little bit different, maybe rounded. We also have the material card. We have card view. Remember, we have a card view discussed. Inside the card view, we can put different components and then define it. Make the corners rounded, just like a card that is visible on the screen. We also have the material tab layout. We also have the text fields, top application bar, bottom navigation. We also have chips. So you can start, you can continue with all these visual components. Click events, focus, get focused, going out of the focus, getting defocused. These are the event that we can program up from, whether it is the GUI component that is coming from our material design or it is coming from our Android libraries. Doesn't matter. But these are the different what you can say that the event driven programming, click event, change event. I mean, you are typing something inside your edit text, so that is changing. Whenever you are typing next character, it is changing, so it generate a event. If you want to capture that thing, yes, you can. Edit text on change event. So if you want to use the material design components which has been provided by the Google, then you have two different ways. The one is the old one. As I told you, remember that we have the Android library, and nowadays we have the Android X library, which they are trying to the next version, you can say that. And now they are recommending the Android systems, they are recommending that you use the Android X instead of the Android. The reason is that maybe sometime in the future they will stop supporting that particular specific Android library because this is the old one. Now they are putting more focus on the Android X. So this one, if you want to Android library, the older one, this is the way. I mean, you must have that particular combined SDK version 28 or later, and then you can implement, you can add that particular specific library within your Gradle application Gradle. If you want to know more about the version, because normally these versions, the last part 28.0.0, it is continuously changing. The reason is that maybe they introduced 29.0.0, alpha 1, alpha 2, beta version, alpha version, and then finally when they are satisfied that all those testing has been done, so now they can release the final version of 29.0.0, that is going to change. So where we can find those information, if you look at that, I have this particular, here we have the link, you can click on that, it will open that particular specific location. And where is that? Let me see here. Yep. So here, this is, we can find that specific library. For example, we are talking about the com.android.sport library. So we need to find out that particular specific library here. Let me increase the size so you can see it. So we have to find that Android. It is all Android X. Now we also have the Android.sport. Okay. Do we have? It should be here. Let me see. It is Android X. What is that? com.android. So com.android.sport. So we have that particular specific library. Inside, again, we have the multiple sub libraries. So we are talking about the design. And inside the design, you can see these are the different versions which are available. 22.20, they started with that. And then later on, they continue. And now the latest version is 28.0.0. Understand? Let's come back. So if you want to use the latest library, which is the Android X, then you have to use a little bit different string as compared to the older one. So it's com.google.android.material, and then inside the material we have the sub library material, and then we have the version. So again, we can find this particular specific library, again com.android.material. We can find it here in the same, on the same what you can say, that same link, same page, Android dot, what is that? Android dot material. It's again Android com.google.android, com.google.android, and then we have the material, and inside the material we again have the material, and then here you can have a different version number. So the latest one, it is not the final version yet, 1.1.0. It is an alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3. They are what do you mean by alpha? It is more kind of a under testing. It is still under process, still in the development phase. They are releasing some versions. The different developers, they are giving them the feedback all around the world, and based on their feedback, they are continuously changing that particular specific version. And once they feel They have the final version, all the what you can say that the feedback from around the world has been incorporated. Now it is final. They will release it as 1.1.0 instead of alpha or beta. Okay, so this is where you can find the current version, the latest version of different Android libraries, and link is already available. It is not present in the slides which are available on the Moodle, so don't worry, I will update those slides shortly. I have developed a specific application because again this is a GUI component. We have already know how to design the GUI, graphical user interface. You have done your homework as well. We have seen it from the last 4 weeks. So I don't want to do it again here, but I will upload that particular specific code so that you can have a look at it. If you have some problem, if you have some difficulties in understanding it, then we can discuss it later on. But right now, I want to discuss more about the activity. Right now, till this last 4 weeks, we are talking about only one activity. We have one activity in which we perform certain specific things. We first GUI design, then we implement the backend coding, backend functionality, click events, all that kind of a stuff, but only one activity. But this is not the ideal situation. Yes or no? Is it so? All the applications have one activity or one screen?
Most have multiple.
Most have multiple. Okay? So it means that we have to add some more activities. Okay? So all the activities have multiple, like this. This is a Gmail application which has the list view in which it is showing you different emails that are coming from different people. Then you can also have that particular specific drawer, which is a kind of a menu, drawer menu, where you can perform certain actions. You can click on some specific conversation. It will again show you the different messages inside that conversation, and you can delete, you can add, you can compose. You have different activities which are present in one application. Okay, so we need to add multiple activities. Activity A can launch the activity B. Remember, we say that we have 5 components inside our Android application: activities, fragments, intents, broadcast receivers, and the content managers. So we talk about activities. We've seen it, how we can design them. GUI component, what is the graphical component you design, and then how we can implement the backend functionality, the actual functions, actual what you can say that the services that this particular application is going to provide us. Okay, now we talk about the intents, because in the first lecture when we introduced about the intent, I say that intent is a message object which we are going to pass between different components. Even if our application want to communicate with the Android operating system, then it has to create an intent object and pass that to the Android system. Messages. Okay, so to start from the activity A, if we want to start the activity B, we need to pass a specific intent object to the Android system, and the Android system will start the activity B. We are not going to start ourselves. That activity is going to start by the Android operating system, not by us. But how we can ask the Android operating system that we want to start the activity B in the same application? Okay, so A can pass data to B. We can also pass the data. A can send back the data to A when it is done. Again, we will see that in more details. We have 2 ways to start an activity. Start an activity, and then start an activity for result. I want to get back something, as what you can say that something back from the students. For example, in the SDLT1, what I say, this is the way that you can install the Android Studio on your home computers or your laptops. Did I ask you to give me back something? No. I just say that this is the activity, this is the function, this is the work that you need to process, do it. I'm not expecting something back. But for the SDLT02, what I did, I had a submission link. It means you are not only do that work, but you also give me back some result. So I make a message, I make that activity, I make that self-directed learning task for you, and then I also expect something back from you. So this is the second way, starting an activity for some results. And whenever that result is coming back, we need to handle that thing. What I need to do? I need to mark, I need to look at that particular specific work that you have submitted, and then I need to mark that have you done into a proper way, that the way that I have explained you in the videos and inside the description, or you have not been able to understand it properly. So giving you some feedback and also marking him. Okay? So activity.java is the code file library, code file where you are going to implement the functionality. Layout.xml, you know all that this is where we are going to design the GUI component. And then Android manifest file. Android manifest file, remember, for our main activity, it has an entry for the main activity. All the activity that you are going to add into your application, it must have a entry inside our Android manifest.xml file. If it is not there and you want to start, you start that activity, Android system will say that, sorry, this activity should not be a part of your system or application. So I'm sorry, I can't start that particular activity. There is some error. Either your manifest, your Android manifest file is corrupted, or there is some hacker who is trying to start a specific activity which this particular application is not supposed to start. So all the activity which exist in your application, they must have an entry here. I will show you that what's happening over there. And then remember that we have this is the main activity entry inside our manifest file. It is saying that this particular specific action underscore main, and the category is a launcher. Launcher means that whenever the user is going to click on the app, your application icon inside the mobile, this specific activity is going to start by default. Okay? And then if we are adding the other activities, it will also have an entry inside our main activity, inside our Android manifest file. We can also have the permissions. What do you mean by permissions? For example, your application want to access the internet. We have to define that specific permission inside our manifest file. If we have not defined that thing inside our manifest file, then our application, when it try to access the internet, the Android operating system say that inside your Android manifest file, you have not tell me that this particular application may access. I'm not saying that must access, but may access the internet or Wi-Fi or the camera or the, what you can say, that internal storage. All these things which are external to your application, you must provide that permission specifically mentioned in the Android manifest file. If you don't, what will happen?
Might be able to interact.
And again, Android operating system will consider it is an illegal action that your application is trying to perform. So there is some problem, whether it is hacked, there is some security issues with that particular specific application. So I can't allow this particular application to access this particular feature inside the Android mobile. Reason is that you have not tell me in advance that this particular application may access the internet or may access the camera or may access the Bluetooth. These are the services which are handled by the operating system. And if you want to access those services, then you have to give those permissions. You mention these permissions here. You give those permissions in the Android manifest file. If they are not there, Android operating system is not going to allow your application to access those services. And it's considered as an illegal action. It will kill your application immediately. Understand? So these are the Android manifest file. All the activities has an entry inside it, and if your application is going to access certain hardware services or the other services which are out of that your application, you have to provide those permissions here. Is it clear? So we have talked about earlier as well when we say that we have different life cycles. Activity has a life cycle. On create, that is when the Android system is going to create your app activity, before it is visible to the user, it will call that particular specific method, that is the on create method. Okay? And that on create method, where you can initialize all the components, all the variables which you are going to use in that activity class, activity.java. On create. And then we also tell in the same method, we are going to tell the Android system that our GUI design is coming from this particular XML file that we have designed separately from our code. It will generate all those components inside the memory and show them on the screen. So we are doing everything over here. We also have on start, on create, and then we have on start. This particular method is being, what you can say, that executed just moment before the activity, the GUI is visible to the user. Just before. And then we have on resume. Remember that I told you that they are different, what you can say, that the state of the activities. Sometime it partially visible. Your activity, your GUI design, the graphical user interface, it partly visible in the background. Maybe there is some small, what you can say, that dialog box, some message is appearing right in front of that particular specific activity, and your activity is visible in the background. The moment that particular dialog box is visible to the user, the system itself is going to call the on pause method within your activity. These methods, starting from the on start, on resume, on pause, on stop, on restart, and on destroy, they are not overridden by default. We can override in our activity class. But this method is only which is by default overridden. On create method, you need to set the GUI component only. So we have the on resume, partially visible, and when it is going to show that particular dialog box in front of our activity, it will call this on pause method. And whenever, for example, it will show you a message, are you sure you want to close your application? Are you sure you want to change that specific thing, item inside the input field? Maybe it is asking you this question and you say okay, yes, or you say cancel. When you say okay or cancel, what will happen? That dialog box will disappear, and whenever it is going to disappear, it will always first call that on resume method. When it appears, it will call the on pause method. I will show you the examples, don't worry about it, but just let me explain everything. So when that dialog box is appearing right in front of your activity, the screen, and it is still visible in the background to the user, then it will automatically call the on pause method. And when you interact with that dialog box and that dialog box disappear, it will call the on resume method. The on stop method is going to be called, and that is what we are going to demonstrate. I will demonstrate you here today. On stop method is going to call, you have an activity A. From the activity A, you have started the activity B. Yes? Now this activity is no longer visible to the user, totally gone from the screen, and activity B, the second activity, is visible to the user. At that time, before it can go out of the screen, the activity A or the first activity, in the first activity A, we are going to call this particular specific method on stop. You know, you have a back button as well in the Android. If you click on the back button, you are in the activity B, but you click the back button. It means you want to go back to the activity A, the first activity. When you are going to come back on the activity A from the second activity, that is activity B, your restart on start activity will be called. We also have the restart as well, the restart or the on start. Okay, so they are going to be executed in a specific order. And whenever on destroy mean that whenever your activity is going to be removed from your memory, not from your screen, from your memory, that object is going to be deleted by the maybe the garbage collector, or maybe you ask for itself. We have a finish method. One person over there is trying to implement that finish method. When you say finish, this dot finish or finish, it will delete that object from the memory. It is does no more existent over there. So when we are deleting that specific object of the activity, it will call that on destroy method. Okay, so this is the complete life cycle, and these are the different methods which we can override inside our Java code. By default, only the on create method is overridden. We can override the other methods if required. For example, you have some specific data in that activity that you don't want to lose. You want to save them inside a file or maybe inside a database, wherever you want to save that particular data. You can implement that code on the on destroy. Whenever that particular specific activity is going to be destroyed, you will take that all that data and save it in some place for permanently, so that we can retrieve that particular data whenever we want. Okay, again the same life cycle. When we are starting the activity, it will create on start, it will run the on start method, then it will run the on create method, then it once it will become visible to the user, it will on start. Then we also have the on restore instant state. We also have on resume when it is partially visible in the background. Look at that, on pause, and then we can go to the on resume. And similarly, if it is not visible to the user, we call the on stop method, and when it becomes visible, again it will call the on restart and on start method. And then again the same circle is going on whenever it is disappearing from the screen and appearing back on the screen. And whenever we are going to delete that object, completely destroy that object, that only one time on destroy method is going to be executed. So running, the application is in the foreground, it is in the focus, the user can interact with it. That is our running state. Then we have a paused state. It means that it is visible to the user but in the background, user cannot interact with it. And then we are actually calling the methods on pause and on resume. And whenever we are jumping between two different activities, it is not visible at all, we have the stopped state. And when we are stopping it, when we are making it disappear from the screen, it will call the on stop method, and when it is appearing back, it will call the on start method, as well as the on restart method. And then creating and destroying, on create and on destroy methods. So these are the different states of the activity. We have seen that if we have the images, we have the resource folder, and we can put everything inside that particular specific resource folder. Yeah, drawable especially. We also have some strings, we also have some style, we also have some colors. But what if we want something like a video file or the audio file? That is also a resource. We can add these kind of resources. For that, we need to add a resource folder that is called raw inside our res, that is a resource folder, and then we can copy paste our video files or the audio files inside it, and then we can use just like drawable, r.drawable. Here we are going to it r.raw. Why? Because whenever we are going to create that particular raw resource folder inside our resources, it will automatically create that subclass inside the R class. Inside it is a nested class that is raw, and then inside it will define the name of that resource as a constant integer value. Remember or forget everything? I hope you can remember. So what I will do, I will add that specific MP3 file, our national anthem, New Zealand national anthem. I put that specific file, add into my project, and then what I will do, I will, what you can say that, I will play that particular specific music, and then I will pause it and start that particular music on the on stop and on restart methods. Whenever we are going from activity A to activity B, that music will stop. Whenever we are coming back into the activity A, it will start again. That will show you that those life cycle methods are actually performing something. Just to show you, to make it more visible to you, you can listen music. So let me add that particular specific, connect my the audio system. It is working fine. So where is my audio system? Okay, it is there. Fine, that is okay. Fine, that we will do. An intent, whenever we want to start from our main activity, we want to the other activity, second activity that we are going to add into our project, we need to create an intent object. That is a message that we are passing from the main activity to the second activity that we are going to start. We can also add some data inside it. I have put that particular self-directed learning task 03 in which you are need to perform that specific action. You can pass certain specific amount of data, and remember that this particular data is small, maybe a number, maybe a small string, maybe a double value, maybe a boolean value, something like that. We don't have like we can pass a complete database in that intent object to the next. No. If you want something like this, we have other ways to share the data among different activities within the Android project. We don't do. It's a small information. For example, that we will do in this demonstration as well, that we have a specific input field in which you type your username, and we are going to show a specific welcome message which is customized based on your username. Okay, so we can pass that particular specific data as a part of the intent object, and then we can also see that how the other activity is going to return back. But first thing is we can start the other activities within the same project. We can also start the other activities from another application. It is not necessarily that we can always start the activity which is within the same project. For example, in your gallery application, where you see all your videos and the movies or images, videos and images, you can select that specific image and then you say that you want to share it. Yes or no? So it is a gallery application within your Android phone or maybe the Apple phone, and then you are saying that I want to share this particular specific image with someone else, your friends and family, and then say I want to share that application using the WhatsApp or the Messenger. It will start that Messenger or the WhatsApp. So now from one activity, that is the gallery activity, you are starting an activity from inside the other application. That is also possible. But definitely for doing that, you need to exactly know the name of the class, which normally we don't. Yes or no? Do we know exactly that the compose activity exact class name from the other application? No. In our own application we know the exact class name and everything, but for the other we don't know. So we need to see, we will see that how we can do that, but right now we will more focus within our application. So I think that we have the explicit one, exactly know the class name, my second activity dot java. So that is the my second activity dot class. My second activity, we exactly know the name, explicitly knowing the name, this activity, the component that we want to start, we exactly know which component it is, explicit. And implicit is the other one that I just give you the example. Inside your image activity or image library, you are saying that I want to share. Are you saying that you want to share what? You are saying that I want to share this video or the image. But how? You don't know. You are giving a journal. That is called the implicit action. What happened in that one? So you are saying you are in your application. That is the application, the Android image library. Inside the image library, you are saying that I want to share this particular specific video or the image. And that request received by the Android system. You are saying that I want to share. This is a journal action. You are not specifying which specific activity you want to start. Because this particular Android system know about the applications based on their Android manifest and everything, they have registered all those, installed those applications. It knows all the applications in the system. So it will find out a list of activities, list of applications which can help you to share that particular specific content. It will give you a list. You can email that particular specific image using the Gmail or the Yahoo application or the WhatsApp or the Messenger. It will give you a list and then you select, I want WhatsApp. Once you select the WhatsApp, it will start the WhatsApp. But you are just, in the beginning, you are saying that I want to perform a share action. That's a journal action. You are not specifying the which specific application, which specific activity you want to start. So that is an implicit intent, where you are not mentioning the exact object or exact component that you want to start. You say that I want to perform this action and I don't know which specific application can help me. And then you leave it on the Android system. It will give you a list of possible applications which can help you to perform that action, and then you can select, and then it will start that specific activity. Explicit, that we will see in the demo, and the implicit, you are just specifying that specific journal action. There are different ways. When we talk about the implicit intent, we will see it in more details, but this is the explicit and the explicit one. When in the explicit one, you are creating the object, intent object, new intent object, and then you are passing the context of this one, and then you are saying that main activity dot class. You are exactly mentioning, I want to start the main activity. I want to start my second activity, my third activity, the exact name of the class of that activity. And then you say that start that activity. It means you are passing this particular intent object to the Android system, and Android system will run that particular specific activity for you. Is it clear? We can put some extra information inside that intent object. How we can do that? We are just saying that before we can start this activity, we create the object, and after that we are saying that put extra value. This is the name that you are giving to this particular specific value. Again, value 2, value 3, value 4, and so on. It should be value 4. So we have a string, we have a floating value, we have a Boolean value, whatever it is. But these are the names of these values which you are putting inside. and then using these names we can retrieve them back. Okay, so let's start our demo before we can lost in the theory. Let's see how we can do it in the real world, how we can create the application using all those things. Okay, so let's start a new project. Again, empty project, fine, and then I am saying that multiple activities demo. Okay, it is going to be week 4, fine, and we finish it. Actually, it is coming here. So as I told you that this particular manifest file is going to have that particular activity. This is the main activity. Look at that here. This entry is there. Do we see other activities here? Because we have only one activity, so we have that particular specific one entry inside our manifest file for the activities. Of course, we also have some other, do you allow backups? Yes or no? What is the icon of that particular specific application? What is the label, round icon, and so on? What is the theme of that particular specific application, the visual theme? They have mentioned everything here. We can also mention some permissions here. I will show you later on. But only one activity entry inside that manifest file. Let me quickly add another activity. Maybe I can go from the file, new, and I have this activity here, and then I say that I want to add an empty activity. We can also have other styles, other what you can say that themes here, but we always start with right now because we want to create by ourselves, so that's why I always start with the empty. Or we can have like right click on your application, and again we have a new, and then we have a empty activity. When we start, it is asking me the name. I say that my second activity, I'm giving that name, and you know that the rules and regulations, the recommended naming conventions for the classes. This is an object, so always start with the capital letter. Whenever my second, this is a second word, first letter is capital. Activity A is capital. Okay, so we don't want to make it a launcher. We want to add the GUI file as well. So, and we say finish. Now we have that particular second activity. So let's see in our manifest file. Does it has the entry? So look at that. This particular specific entry for my second activity has been added here automatically. Whenever you are adding an activity in your project, automatically that particular specific entry is automatically added inside the Android manifest file. Is it clear? So you can see that it's done. Okay, now let's talk about some work. The main activity is started by the Android system. Yes or no? And clearly remember that again, this main activity is going to receive an intent object from the Android system. And we can access that particular object. Definitely will be no extra information there. There will be the default information, but yes, we can access it. And how we can access it? Let me say that we want to, because I want to show those information inside this text view. Okay, so how I can do that? Anyone?
Text.
Sorry?
Change the texts.
Change the text, but how? This object, this is a text view object. It is created in the memory. Whenever we are going to run that particular specific, where is my main activity? So let me hit here, close that particular Android manifest file. So when we are running this particular specific line in our Java code, this text view object is being created. But can we change the values inside it? How? Yes, we can, but how? You are saying you are putting that a big. So how we can access it? Remember or forgot everything? The steps that we need to perform. Anyone who can explain me?
Give it an ID and
Sorry, what is the first step?
give it an ID
Give an ID. Where?
to the text view.
To the text view, we need to provide an ID. For example, I say that intent data text view. I just giving that particular specific ID to this particular specific text view. And one more thing, I don't want to make it go to the bottom as well as top is fine, right is fine. Okay, that's fine. Okay, and I don't want to show this particular specific message as well because we are going to change that message. So we have assigned that particular ID, and what is the next step?
Link it to an event handler in the Java code.
Linked it to the event handler.
Create a function.
Create a function. Are you sure? Anyone? How I can access this text view and change the message inside this text view? Sorry? Edit text or text view? Can you explain me a little bit clearly?
The required text should be put inside the code.
We want to put it in the code. Okay, yes, we want to put it here. What I need to do? What I need to do here to access that text view? Yes. Create a variable of what type? Text view type. So we need to create a text view type variable. Maybe I say that variable 1 variable, or maybe I can say that var intent data. Whatever, we can give any name here. We are giving that text view, we are creating that particular text view variable. And now what next? What next?
Set it equal to the ID of the text view.
We need to initialize that object, this particular specific variable. We need to initialize, or we need to connect that particular variable with that particular text view using the ID, the name that we have assigned to it. Yes? So what we can do? We have, it should be VAR, not VDEAR. Let me convert VAR, and then we say that find by view ID. We are finding that specific GUI component by its ID and r.id.intent text data view. Now I can simply call this particular specific method set text and pass on a specific string inside it, and it will change that particular specific message or the text inside that text view. But as I told you, we can access the information from we can get that particular intent object which actually has started this main activity. How we can get? Simple. Get intent. This is the method which is there inside the activity class. You can simply call it and it will give you back the intent object. Okay, let me see what you can say that I create a string str is equal to get instant. I'm just converting that particular intent object to toString. Whatever inside it, it will give me. And then I can show it here. Simple. str. Yep. Let's run it and see how it goes. I want to start with this one. Yes, it is already running my emulator, and then see what's going on. Look, it is telling me that this is an intent object. The action type is this. The Android manifest action.main. Its category is the launcher. Its flag is this. And then we have the CMP, that is exactly the package name. package name slash dot main activity. So this is the intent object which has started our main activity, which was passed to our application or this particular main activity by the Android system. Simple get intent, it will give me that object. Clear? Now what we want? We want to have a specific input field here in which we can type something, and then that particular information from that input field we want to pass to the next activity, that is the second activity. So let's quickly start that particular specific design before. So what is that? So we can say that text view, not match parent, wrap content, and then again we say wrap content. We say that giving them the ID, okay, plus ID slash, and then we say that it is title text view, fine, and then we also need to give some constraints over there. Constraint top to the bottom of what? To the bottom of the intent data text view, and then we can say that constraint left to the left of the parent, and then we put some margin 10 dp here so that we can have a different margin. Fine. We can also put the text. So here we can say that enter your name. Okay, and then we can say that we want to have an edit text. Edit text again, we say wrap content. Wrap content, the same thing we need to do it here as well. Wrap content, and then we are saying that what we are saying that constraint top to the bottom of what? Again the same one, but we want this particular edit text to be on the right of this text view. So we can say that constraint left to the right of that title text view. Okay, and then we have a hint. Hint is like enter your name here. Okay, so we are giving a hint to the user that what specific information it need to add here. Is it clear? And then okay, then we also need to add a specific button here. On the click event we want to start the second activity, so we putting the button here, and then we say wrap content. We can say text, and then we can say that start second activity, and we put some constraint top to the bottom of what? To the bottom of the title text view, and constraint left to the not to the right of, constraint left to the left of the parent. Again we want to put some margin. You know what is the margin? 10 dp. Okay, fine. And if we want to access these edit text, so we have not assigned the ID, so we need to assign the ID because we want to access this one specific input field inside our Java code. So we need to assign the ID. So we say that ID, what is the name input, edit text, and similarly we can put the ID here as well because we want to access this button as well inside our Java code. So we can say that my btn. I'm just trying to give them some names. And now what we need to do here, just like we have created a text view object, text view variable, we are going to create the edit text variable. We can say that input, and then we also need to assign that particular specific button, then btn. Fine. And now we need to initialize those variables. Input is equal to find by view id r.id dot what? Input name input edit text. Okay, and then we have the btn is equal to find by view id r dot id dot, we have btn, my btn. Okay, so we have these variables. On the click event of that specific button, we want to assign, we want to perform, we want to start that second activity. What we need to do? So btn dot set on click listener, new on click listener, and here we have that particular specific method. So what we need to do? We need to access that particular input. For example, I say that string str or the name is equal to input dot get text, and we need to convert it into the string. The reason is that this get text return me a sequence of characters, not the string object. So we need to convert it into the string object. We have that name from our input field if it is given. Okay, we can check if that str dot is empty. If it is empty, we want to show a message. Sorry, it's not an str, it's name. Name dot is empty. We want to show a toast message to the user. Make text this. It is not going to work this here. That exact problem with your code. Remember, we are saying that main activity dot this is not going to work here because we are inside that particular specific implementation, new object. It is called anonymous object that we are creating, and we are inside that object. So if we want to get the context of the application, here we are not going to use this or main activity dot this. No, it is not going to work here. So we have to say that get application context, and then we can give the message here. You must enter your name to start second activity, and then we can toast dot length is long and then show. If that user has not given the name, we are not going to start the other activity. We are asking the user first give the name, man. We are making sure that user give me the name before we can start the other activity. Okay, and then in the else part we can start creating that particular intent object. And how we can do that? Intent, not integer, intent. Intent, give the name of the variable is equal to new intent, passing the context. Again, we can't use main activity dot this or dot only this. So we have to get the application context, and then we can give the second activity. What is the name? My second activity. My second activity dot class. So we have these two values here that we need to pass to create the intent object. Now we want to add this name inside this intent object. To pass this particular, we can say that the variable name dot put extra. If we look at that particular specific put extra, it is asking me to give me two values. One, the first value is a string, and second value can be anything. It can be an integer value, it can be a boolean value, it can be a string value, whatever it is, no problem. Understand? Okay, we need to provide that name. What does that mean? I will show you. So first of all, before we can go into that, I am going to create, just like at the top level, I am going to create a static final string object. What you can say that this is like name underscore extra, and we can give maybe using the same string extra underscore value. I make it static. Remember this thing, static, final, it is not going to change its value, done. And I'm going to use that particular specific string name here, name extra, and then we are giving that particular specific name value as a string. We can also put some other thing as well. For example, maybe I can have another value here, just a test one. For example, I say that value underscore int, and then here we say that name extra. We are, instead of saying that, we can say that int extra. We can also have something like this, bool. We are putting some more information inside that particular specific intent object. Okay, so I can put whatever we want here, multiple information, intent dot put extra, and then we say that int extra, comma, whatever integer value, 79. Intent, not in intent dot put extra, and then we say that bool extra, and then we give false. We are putting these information inside the intent object as an extra. And what is happening? This is the name of those information, the message, the data that we are putting inside the intent object. If we want to access it, we have to give the same name to get it back. Provide that same name. And remember that I make them static. Okay? And then after that, once we are set that we have figured out all the, we have configured our intent object, we can say that start activity and pass that particular intent object to this one. It will start my second activity. Let me, where is my, so it is working. Maybe I can say that Abbas. Let me first give you the idea. If I don't give anything, it is an empty, and I do that. When I click on that, look at that. You must enter your name. It is not allowing me to go into that second activity. Understand? So let me give my name here, and then I click on this one. It is going into the second activity. But in the second activity, we are not doing anything right now. Are we? We are not doing anything. So let me show those information inside a second activity, inside a text view, which are coming from my main activity. Clear? How we can do that? Simple. First of all, we need to have that particular text view here. So we can say that text view. Again, I say match parent and wrap content. And then we can put some constraints here. Constraint top to the top of parent, and then constraint left to the left of parent, and then constraint right to the right of the parent. So we have put some constraint. Let me put some margin here. Margin is 20 dp, not do, it's dp. Fine. And as we want to access this particular text view in our Java code, what we need to do? First of all, we need to assign the ID. Again, I say that display intent data. And remember that when we are giving these IDs, make sure that they are unique. They are not being used in the other activities as well, because then the system will be confused that we are talking about which specific object. Understand? So display intent data. Again, I put some TV because it is a text view. And now, once I have done our GUI design, I go into my activity. What I need to do here? I need to get that intent object which has started this particular specific activity, and from that intent object, I want to get those extra information. So maybe I can say that intent is equal to get intent. It will give me the object. And now I start a string. str is equal to what? I will say that intent dot get string extra. There we only say put extra, put extra, put extra. We don't say that the specific type. But here, if you want to get them back, we need to know that this is a string extra, this is a other thing. Otherwise, if you say only get extra, it will give you back an object, and then you need to do all those type conversions. The first name is a string, so we say string extra, and then how we can access. I mean, there are two different ways to do that. Whether I just copy these information, that particular specific name from here to there, because we make them static. Can I use it in the second activity? Can I use it? The same variable. Instead of copy pasting, you want to use the same variable. And remember that we have the access modifiers, static, private, public, protected. Static means that you can access that particular specific information without creating the object. What you need? Just name of the main class dot. Because it is in the main activity, dot name extra. So what this particular specific line will do, if that name exists inside the intent object, it will retrieve the value for that one and assign it to the string. If it is not, then the string will be null. And that is the problem with you, because you are trying to give the name which does not exist, a different name, and when you're trying to retrieve that particular information, instead of giving the value, it is giving you the null value. And then whenever you are trying to operate on that particular null value reference runtime error. Clear? Good. So we have that particular information out of that particular specific intent data. We also have some other, so let me convert that. So we can say that str plus equal to intent object dot get int extra. We have that int extra, and in the int extra we have to provide two values, the name, and then it also say that default value. What does it mean? I will show you. So first of all, we say that main activity dot int extra, and then default value is 0, or maybe I say -1, whatever you want to give. What happened? When you run this particular specific method here, it will get that particular specific string, try to extract int extra value from your intent object. If it exists, it will retrieve the value. If it does not exist, it will assign the default value to our int object. And because we are saying that string is equal to string plus, we are concatenating automatically, that integer is converted into string, and it will be concatenated. But actually I need to give something like this, str plus, we also need to add certain what you can say that, I say that go to the new line, and it is the int value. Maybe I can put the same thing here as well. I can say that it is a name value, so it will, to make it more visible, and then we also have str equal to str whatever the value is plus /n, and this the last one is the bool value. Intent dot get boolean extra. Okay, again main activity dot bool extra, and then here again we need to provide the default value. What value we have given here? It is false, so let me change that value. It is true, that we make sure that what value is going to be displayed over there. And then at the end, what we are going to do, we are going to create a text view object. Text view tv is equal to find by view id r.id.display and then we can say that tv dot set text, and then we can say that str. We are passing that particular specific in string. And let me run this application and then see how it goes. So we are passing the name, and then we are call, look, that value Malik, int value is 79, boolean value is false, is there. So we can access them like this. And let me change one more thing here. For example, I want to text style bold. If I want to make it multiple, then I say bold and italic. Text color, I want to make it accent, and then text size, I want to make it 30 sp, and then what else? Text font family, we can change it. Font family, for example, maybe I can say monospace, okay, and see how it goes. A little bit different. Maybe a monospace is not the right choice. Maybe we can change something. Alt enter. No. Okay, what we can do here, shift, no, option enter. Yeah, no. Okay, let me write that one again. Font family, let me use cursive one, so you can change that particular specific font family. Okay, this is the simplest thing. Clear? So let me stop my video here, okay, and then we will talk about how we can start an activity for some results. Clear?